Go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Hunt with Alpine Optics. And I'm your host, Rick White, and I've got a great guest tonight, an old running buddy of mine, Mr. Phillip Vanderpool from Arkansas. He'll be our guest this evening. We're going to talk about a lot of things, some old memories and some turkey tactics and some self-filming tips. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. This week's guest, as I mentioned, is an old running buddy back in my HS days. And I tell you what, we spent a lot of time together over the years. Mr. Phillip Vanderpool from Arkansas. Phillip, how you doing this evening?
Well, I'll tell you what, Rick, I'm doing good, and it's good to see you. I know seems like here lately we haven't chatted as much and stuff and stayed in touch, but it's good to be back with you, brother.
All right. Before we go any further, I've had a lot of people that have called me, and I know I talked to you a few weeks ago, but man, you went through a bout of COVID, and it was really rough on you. You doing okay? Everything?
Rick, finally, I'd say the last week to 10 days, I finally really improved. But I'm going to tell you, I had it for about 2 months. I got it down in Mississippi. Good friend of mine, Larry McCoy, and I were down there on a hunt there at the Backwoods Attraction Testing Grounds. And I got it down there. And Rick, I had it for about 2 months. And the crazy thing is, I lost about 45 pounds in 3 weeks. I almost died, Rick. And I obviously been to the emergency rooms and doctors and everything. But the good Lord is looking out for me. I think He's still got some things He wants me to do in this old world, So I feel truly blessed, Rick. I'm doing a whole lot better, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, so I know you had double pneumonia. Did you lose your sense of taste and smell as well?
All that. The taste was the worst taste I've ever had in my mouth, and then the headaches, along with some fever and stuff. And, the crazy thing is I done okay. I thought when I first got COVID it was going to be okay, but I got wet. We continued to hunt, even though I had the COVID. And we stayed away from everybody, as far as quarantine. But I got wet and cold, and I think that's what developed into my double pneumonia and stuff. And, buddy, I'll tell you what, it just about got me.
Yeah, I have had it twice for absolute sure, tested positive twice. I think I had it a third time. I believe in 2019, I caught it at the SHOT Show. That was early on. A lot of people got sick from that show, but they weren't doing any testing back then. But that was the worst. If I did have it that first time, that was absolutely the worst. I got it in 2020. I had, I think, something similar to you, but I didn't have it near as bad. I did lose my sense of taste and smell. I didn't have any energy, was tired, had a low-grade fever, but I really bounced out of it in about a week. And then, here at the archery trade show just back in January, a whole bunch of us got it there again, and I believe it was that Omicron, and it was really too bad. It was a kind of maybe a pretty good cold,
So I had that 2019, December 2019. And
Rick, I lost your picture.
Yep, I'm here. Go ahead, Paul. Okay.
So I got that in December 2019, sitting next to a Chinese national, and she's about 25. And they said she wasn't feeling well, and I was like, oh well, whatever, it's just. And then about 3 or 4 days later, I had lost all of my sense of smell, all of my sense of taste. My joints were just not working. And then, oh my gosh, I had a low-grade fever. I had a sore throat. It was bad. It It lasted about a week, but the aftermath lasted for 3 months where I just couldn't do anything. It was tired.
Well, it's a crazy thing, and our hearts go out to all those that have been affected by the virus. And it's
well, they didn't. I went to the doctor and had all kinds of tests, and they said that I couldn't possibly have it, but that wasn't. I had it. That definitely. It went around.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, Phillip, Phillip, I'm glad you're on the rebound. That's great. And I don't know if the folks are seeing Paul, but who was just talking is Paul, who's behind the scenes, doing all the producing at his office in Arkansas. And as I mentioned, Phillip's in Arkansas as well. But you still on there, Phillip?
We can play on set.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit east of him over there. I think he's over around Fayetteville, Springdale?
Yeah.
Yep. Heck yeah, I'm here in Harrison.
All right, next time you're on the show, come by the store. We'll put you on real camera rather than your guys' phones.
All right.
Okay. We can do that.
Hey, let's take a step back in time, okay? Before we get into some of the other stuff. Phillip and I, as I mentioned earlier, we worked together for years, and I remember Phillip. When I met Phillip, I was working at Hunter Specialties, and Phillip came in as a cameraman, was filming hunts for us, and that's when I first met him. I don't even really remember who brought you to us, but you and I ran together for several years. I mean, you were my camera guy there for a while, and we had a great team. We really did.
Yeah, and I was your lucky horseshoe. As you know, I remember Greg Miller talking about that, years ago, because it just seemed like every time we got in a tree, it always something good would happen, Rick. And and I think that was, what I was known for more than anything. I think you killed your biggest buck with archery with me. I know that Craig Morgan did, and let's see, I was trying to think. Greg Miller, that big one he killed up there in Nebraska that year and stuff. I've been truly blessed. And I got into the industry. And if you remember, Rick, when I first started there, I was subcontracting for a long time, 6 months out of the year. And then obviously when our old buddy Pat Reeve went out on his own, then I got to step kind of into his shoes, and then you and I just, we teamed up, and buddy, we got it done.
Hey, don't tell anybody. Of course, they're going to see this, but I actually enjoyed filming with you more than I did Pat.
Hey, I tell you what.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hard to get along with, could he? He was so serious.
Oh, I love Pat. We had a great time, but I'm just kind of joshing around a little bit. But you and I had a great run. We had a lot of great hunts, and like you said, when we got together, whether you were filming me or I was filming you, man, we just had success. And
exactly.
I mean, when you finally went off on your own or started actually doing more hunts, and I had to get another camera person, it was like starting all over again. And it seemed like my luck kind of started to dissipate a little bit. So,
well, I think, like I say, we made a good team. We done a lot of stuff, hanging our own tree stands, putting our ground blinds up, and, had a great friendship. And it was definitely, I'm going to be honest with you. I miss the HS days. We don't realize sometimes how good we had it with Dave and Carmen and the whole gang at HS. You know it?
Yeah, we did. We did have a lot of fun. So Phillip, you've got your own show nowadays called The Virtue TV.
Yes.
Tell the folks a little bit about what you're doing and what you got going on.
Well, basically, actually, Rick, it's crazy, but I'm going into my 9th year. And I'm basically been on a digital platform. I started it with Realtree. I still work with Realtree, but I've been doing Carbon TV, and the Hunt channel, obviously, there has worked out really well. And it's been on a digital platform where people can just watch it on their phone, and it's all archived and everything. And I've been really, really blessed to keep my head above water in this hunting industry. It's kind of been saturated and stuff over the years, but had some really great sponsor partners and stuff, and good people to work with. And this year, I'm actually expanding. I'm going to be, I'm really looking forward to it, because I'm going to be on the Pursuit channel for 39 weeks this year, starting out there, and I'll be right behind my old buddy Kip Campbell there, Red Arrow, on Monday nights. And I think that's going to be really big, Rick. Pursuit has been great to work with, and they reach almost 30 million people now, and it's a free show on there. So now with the digital platform and the TV, it makes it nice. And I've always worked with Sportsman Channel through Respect the Game. I've got a really good relationship with everybody over at the outdoor, basically my old buddy Larry McCoy and stuff there. We'll work with those, usually the Elite Bows and stuff has been my title sponsor. It's been a great run, Rick. I have to say that I've just been blessed, and I've just had good people to work with. And as well as I do, that makes a difference. But a lot of my stuff, and we'll get into that in a minute, but as well as I do a lot of self-videoing. I mean, from one end to the other, a lot of the shows are self-videoing. And I pride myself with that just because being able to get it done and get the different camera angles and stuff on that, as well.
Right. So self-filming is not, to do a good job is not easy by any means. And you have perfected it. I self-film occasionally, more turkey hunts than obviously deer hunts. Right. But it is a challenge. So I know you've done it a lot. So what are some do's and don'ts that you might recommend to some of the folks that are watching that could help them out,
Obviously, anymore now we got 4K cameras. I run multiple cameras when I'm self-videoing. And the one thing I try to do is my big camera, my main camera, I'll try to run in 4K, because anymore, if you're going into post-production, they can move that around and they can kind of push in on it about double of what it'll be. So the main thing when you're self-videoing is you want to have everything where you're not having to adjust the iris or adjust this or adjust that. You've got to have everything pretty much preset. And with multiple camera angles, most of them are probably set up. And I use trail cameras a lot, like on my decoy, especially turkey. I'll use trail cameras and put them in the video mode and put them like for 1 minute with a 5-second break. And I set them out there and just get them back from the decoy and set them up and let those cameras do the job for you. You can also do it with your GoPros, and people are using Tacticams. I use Tacticams quite a bit, and you can get there and get those POV angles and kind of see where you're at. But blinds and decoys on the turkey side have really helped me just being able to move around a little bit, Rick, and the decoys are taking everything. They're once the turkey's locked in on the decoy, as well as I do, you start getting away with a little bit. But having everything set and ready to go is the whole key. Where I don't like to run a lot of things. Obviously, the focus is the main thing I'm going to worry about. I'm going to run that on manual focus. But for everything else, I may just run auto iris on something and maybe bump the AE down just a little bit if you need to on the camera. But have everything where it's just simple. Because you start playing around like we used to do with the big cameras, everything's manual this, manual that. It's great when you can do that. But when you're self-videoing, you need to concentrate on that shot. That's the main thing you've got to worry about. Let the cameras do their work. Now, I may have to zoom in a little bit and, having the camera position where you can get in there on it and have a zoom controller where you don't have to do it from the camera, and just get everything right the best you can. And then you got to have patience and wait on your shot for a lot of times,
So I've been pulling down a little bit of video from your website while you were talking. It's your latest video.
Is it a whitetail hunt?
There's not a lot of information, so I'm not quite sure.
You pulled it off what? Carbon TV?
No, off of your website.
Oh, okay. I'm not even sure what's up on the website, to be honest with you. Right now, I don't.
So listen,
virtue, right?
Okay, so hey, let's Phillip, you mentioned hunting out of a blind, and I'm glad you did, because I hear sometimes from some people, and I just did some seminars at the Iowa Deer Classic just this last week. We were at the Deer Classic, and we were selling stuff, and we had a great show. But generally, someone along the line will say, you know, some people don't like hunting out of blinds. And if you don't like hunting out of blinds, you don't have to hunt out of blinds.
Exactly.
But certainly don't criticize the ones that do, because there's lots of good reasons to hunt out of a blind. I like getting kids or new hunters in blinds, because you can preoccupy them and you can let them move around and stuff, but you can kind of talk about what's going to happen and hopefully, and some things like that. Right. But it allows you to get away with a lot. I also like blinds when I'm setting up in an area where I don't have the cover. You know, exactly. Sometimes I have those situations. And as you said, when I'm filming myself, I've got all this equipment and I've got my weapon and so on and so forth, and multiple cameras. You just can't get away with that if you're not in a blind. So, you know, if you want to hunt out of a blind, it's perfectly okay, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Rick, as far as I'm concerned, anything that's legal, I'm all about it. I don't care what it is. That's just my opinion. If it's legal, then you shouldn't criticize somebody over it, because those people are going to do it because it's legal. And with blinds, the one thing, like you said, especially on first-time hunters, you want to make that as comfortable as you can for the first time, because you're going to make them or break them right there. And a blind will keep you dry, and it'll keep the wind from blowing them off, you know, blowing on them real hard. I love to run and gun, but self-videoing is pretty tough to run and gun. But I like a blind, because anymore, I'm at the age now, I want to be comfortable, and I've got more patience. So if I need to sit there and I'm saying that turkeys may frequent in and out of a place all day long, you know, I've got more patience now, and especially bow hunting, buddy. I do a lot of, about everything I do self-videoing out of a blind is with a bow. And you've got to be obviously draw a bow. So the new guys want to start out, I would recommend two things right off the bat, and that's a ground blind and decoys. Because now, as a bow hunter, it's easier than ever. When I first started, and I know you too, Rick, I can't tell you how many turkeys I killed running and gunning by, you know, setting up against a tree just like you're doing with a shotgun, and it's tough. You may call 4 or 5 different gobblers up before you ever get an arrow in one. And it was tough. But now, is it more challenging? Absolutely. And I'm all about the guy that's more challenging. That's fine. But not everybody has the time to go out there and run and gun. So the average guy that you get in a hunt, you know, a few days during turkey season, why not be comfortable? Get you a good chair and stuff. You don't have to hunt in the blind every time. I don't hunt the blind. How many times back in the HS days, look at the turkeys I killed with a bow back then, and wasn't using no blind. We were just taking cedar, getting up, tucking under a shaded area, getting there, sitting on the ground, using the little strut, two-way strut seat there, set it up, get there and put a little stuff to cover you up, get in that shade, and Rick, we kill turkeys all the time like that, and I still do. But I do like a blind. I like to be comfortable. I want to stay dry, and I don't like that cold wind tearing me up anymore, but I don't have to do it every time. But I enjoy, you know, me and Rhonda, we love to get out there, and we see one, we'll go out there and crawl up on them and stuff and set up. You know, it's fun doing that too. I love the run and gun. It's just a little tougher to video. Because when I'm doing it with a bow and I'm shooting their heads off, I use those decaps. Rick, I ain't, but most of my decoys I set up about 4 or 5 yards. So yeah. I love that up close and personal, hearing them spitting and drumming, and I let them put on a show. That's what I get out of it. You know,
yeah, I put my decoys very close when I'm bow hunting as well. Let's talk a little strategy.
Okay. Hey, Rick.
Yes.
So Philip,
yes.
Lars Erickson, he's asked, when are we going to share an elk camp again?
Buddy, I tell you what, Lars Erickson, I've got, Rick, you may have too, but I've got 15 points, and I just put in again for Utah. And if hey, we do an elk hunt out there, if I get that tag, I'd love to come and do an elk hunt, buddy. I mean, I miss it. I love that elk hunting as much as anything. It ain't nothing like it. But I'd love to get with you, because you're a darn good hunter.
He also asks, what was it like to film Wayne Carlton's giant bull in New Mexico?
Probably one of the highlights of my life. And the last time I talked to Wayne here, just not too awful long ago, we talked about that hunt. And it's one of the most memorable hunts I'll ever do, because We actually done it from a tree stand on a wallow on the last day of the New Mexico bow season. And Wayne called that whole herd down in there and got them bugling, got him fired up, and the cows come in and they walked right under the tree. Now, keep in mind, this is a little pine spruce type tree there. And I had a tree stand, and I only had one, and I hung it for Wayne. And then I got up from 2 o'clock, and he shot that bull because it was early season. I think it was around 7 o'clock then. And I stood on one limb and kind of set my hind end on the other limb, and I handheld the camera for most of the afternoon, 5-6 hours there, and that bull walks right up under us, and he shoots a 400-inch 6x6 bull. It was one of the most fun hunts that I mean, and I tell you, it made Wayne and I really close over that hunt. One of the best moments of my life right there, truly.
Yeah, Phillip, I think you remember, you filmed my very first video, elk kill. You filmed that.
I did.
Yep, you did, and that was a great hunt. And I've had the privilege to film Wayne a few times myself, and not a funner guy to film. But anyway, so I want to get back to turkey hunting a little bit here. Yep. And thanks, Lars, for the question. Lars is on our pro staff at Alpin and Bresser too. So
is it good?
So I. Early season especially, I call a lot, and I always kind of joke with people. I have not run into too many people that call as much or more than I do, but you do. You do. And why? Tell people why we call so much.
Well, like you say, especially early season, the thrill I get out of it, Rick, I'm wanting to find that Hollywood gobbler. Eddie Salter taught me that a long time ago, when he would talk about it. He said, that turkey, he'd call the one and he may gobble time or two, and he said, he ain't interested. Let's go find Hollywood. And that's, and that's the way I look at it, Rick. I mean, I'm calling to make something happen, and I want him to gobble and strut as much as I can. And I don't think I call as much probably as I used to. I used to hammer him, buddy, and I loved it. I call him way too much, way too loud, whatever you want to call it. But that's the thrill I get out of it. And Rick, I feel like it's really made me successful. I feel like there's a lot of turkeys, if I hadn't have been putting it on them, they wouldn't have come in. And I don't think you can call too much to a Rio or a Merriam, do you?
No, and then that's the point I wanted to make. The reason we call a lot is because we're successful doing it, and it works.
Exactly.
I think if people would call more often, maybe not every time, there's a situation for everything, but I feel that a lot of people will have. I think you're more successful if you'll call to a turkey. That's what I believe. So what do you think is a big mistake that the average turkey hunters tend to do? I mean, what can we do to improve their chances of killing a turkey this spring?
Well, and I think a lot of that, I'll tell you another thing, that especially the guys that are running and gunning, okay? If they're out there midday running and gunning and stuff, I would suggest to call more often, go 50 yards, especially if you got a terrain change, and play the terrain to set up and stuff, because I can't tell you how many times I've called here, walk 50 yards, call again, and he's right there. He just hammers. But my thoughts are on that is basically having patience, and if a turkey don't come right with you and you know where he's at and he's kind of staying in that same spot, if you can at all and play the terrain, get up and move, whether it be 10 yards or 20 yards or wherever you think, and change your position. Look at the lay of the land where you think he's going to come like that. Rick, I can't tell you how many times I've just got up and moved slightly to that terrain change, and that turkey just marched right in. And another thing, and you may spook some turkeys, but I'm telling you, early morning, if you're trying to get a turkey off the roost, you've got to get in that bubble. Don't you agree?
Get it on
tight. You've got to get up close and personal. And you've got to get in that bubble and pay attention, because there may be other turkeys around and he's the one gobbling, and get in there as early as you can when he's calling like that. and when he's gobbling like that, and get set up. And, get in that bubble. And I'm telling you, it'll make a difference of you killing that turkey, getting tight on him. But be careful. play the terrain and try to get in as early as you can, because a lot of turkeys will gobble real early 2 or 3 times before it's ever daylight. That's another thing that people.
Yeah. Hey, before we talk about that, Paul, I do want to make a note here.
I potted it up by accident.
That's another reason that I like to use a blind, because like in Iowa, early season, we have no green. And when you've got gobblers and they're gobbling and they're close to the field edge, if I was to slip into the timber and get to where I want to be, because I want to get tight on them just exactly like what you're saying, because that increases your success rate. But if you get in the timber with them and try to get tight, you're going to bump them. So I like to put those blinds up on the fields as close as I can get to them and set those up early in the morning and be right on top of them. That's another reason I like blinds.
Well, I do too. And like I say, I've taken so many special needs kids and kids in wheelchairs and wounded veterans and things like that. So blinds have been an important part to me. And Rick, I'm not sure what kind of blinds you use, but this last fall I started using Thunder Bay blinds, I think. Or is that what you're using?
Well, I've got one. I've got several different ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got a couple models that they got there, and I'm going to be honest with you, they really work well. I was impressed. The one that's made for turkey hunting, and it really it's a 5-sided.
Yeah, I've got a baronet that's just like 5-sided. Okay. You can put like 4 or 5 people in it. It's huge.
Exactly.
It's nice. They're hard to carry around. They're heavy and stuff, but man, they're nice to be in. Paul, how are we doing for time?
Yeah.
Well, we got about 4 minutes left.
All right, and you put up a picture of Lance, and I'm sure you're dying to say something about that picture.
No,
go ahead.
I did. I potted it up by accident. I didn't mean to put that up there.
Hey, Rick, real quick, while I'm thinking of it, I wanted to talk about, with the hunter specialties, that we all probably had our signature hunt that kind of put us on the map. And I just wanted to say that hunt you did with your dad, I'll never forget that, because you and I hunted so much together, and that raw emotion you showed, you lost your dad. And I'll never forget that, Rick. That still stands out to me, even though I videoed you shooting that 176-inch deer when we were hunting with old Bob. And that was an awesome hunt for me, just because that was your best deer. But my favorite hunt that you ever did, buddy, was that deer that you shot and dedicated it to your dad when you lost him to cancer.
Well, I appreciate that. That hunt means more to me probably than just about, it's one of my top hunts, let's just say, for sure.
Yeah.
And, you should probably, I'm going to guess that your signature hunt is going to have something to do with a double drop tine deer. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I got a lot of, obviously a special thanks to Steve Snow for allowing me to be down there and hunt his property. But the double drop tine, it was definitely my signature hunt, and that's what changed the game for me. And truly blessed, to shoot a deer back then in 2006, a 200-inch deer was very rare. And truly blessed to be able to take such a magnificent animal. But boy, we've had some good hunts, Rick. We could get, the thing is, we could spend all day talking about all the hunts. There's no telling.
I know. We'll get you back on here sometime, because we've just started to cut the cake here. But listen, Phillip, I'm glad you're feeling better. That's great, because there for a while it was touch and go with you, and I would encourage the folks, if they get a chance, go check out the Virtue TV. You'll find that Phillip's got a pretty darn good show. And thanks for coming on tonight, Phillip, and we'll get you on again. And Paul,
ever since I jokingly said, let's hunt for Sasquatch with our game cameras, it's just like, you guys. It's just like, Sasquatch, where is he? I don't know. Hide and seek champion, Yeah. But then I get this.
There's a show where, on Bigfoot there, Paul. You probably ought to get on.
Nobody's found him. If he was existed, they would find him. But I think that the picture's up now. Lance found effigy of Bigfoot. I'm sitting there. What was it? It was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I get this text, and I'm like, "What is he texting me for?"
Yeah, I sent you that picture. We had to do it. Anyways, listen, we're about out of time, and I'm going to go eat some dinner, and I'm sure Philip's got dinner on the table. So, hey, thanks again, Philip. We'll get you on again. Good luck to you this turkey season, and I'll be talking to you. Folks, I think if everything goes right, I think we're going to have Mr. Eddie Salter on next week, but I got to confirm that. So we'll let you know. But next Wednesday, 6 to 6:30, live on Facebook, On the Hunt with Alpine Optics. I'm Rick White. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Good luck and God bless. Thank you, Rick.
You betcha.